All right, here we are. It's Tuesday. Hope I got everything set. I've been messing with this darn thing for half of yesterday and part of today, trying to get it working. I thought today I was going to talk a little bit about people and their channels and the people that participate in them, especially when it's a live show. But over the past, 6 months to a year, I've noticed that there's a lot of people out there that enjoy going after people. If they happen to mention something about themselves that might be a weak point, all of a sudden they get so much hate mail that they can't stand it hardly. And it's hard for me to understand why anybody wants to do things like that. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if you went before the public and you said, I've got a owie on my finger, and everybody come up, pinch your finger? That's physical. But what about the mental issues? What about if you wear your heart on your sleeve and so everybody comes up and they insult you? Does that make you feel good? We have people out there that have a lot of different types of what they call mental illnesses. And they are just that. It's an illness that many times they can't, it's not their cause. And it can be environmental, or it can also be just a genetic mishap that happens. Sometimes families will have different things about them. They'll make them what society considers a little bit odd. And actually, in today's world, we shouldn't consider anything odd. When people have issues, it doesn't matter whether it's in their looks, anatomy, the perspective of what's right and wrong changes over the years, depending on the part of the country you come from, or just society itself. It's a moving target always of what you should look like, what you should act like. And not everybody can keep up with it, and then some people are just not born into it, and it's hard to adapt to it. When you go into if you go into a different country, they call it a cultural difference, and it's hard sometimes understanding that some of your eastern countries require a habit, or whatever they call it, covering of the head, face, different parts of the body, or the entire body. And for people, let's say from the United States, where we have a lot more freedoms, that's not something that they do, normal. And so they're not as apt to take notice if somebody doesn't have it as they would somebody that does have it. And the reverse is that way in another country. But, we have a propensity to pick on somebody because they have something different. And lately, there's been a gal on there that is fairly articulate, and she has her ups and downs. And you hear people talking about ups and downs a lot, and they don't realize that it becomes a pattern for some, and it's something that can't be stopped. It's called bipolar. And this particular person gets called out on it. And in fact, she has mentioned it up front so that people don't get surprised by her uniqueness of personality and the traits that come with it because of the mixing bipolar in with it. And she happens to be fairly intelligent and is on top of her game most of the time. But like anybody that has bipolar, there's moments that can trigger the low or high. And when the low portion is triggered, they can immediately go into a slump. And everything goes wrong for them. Life itself is just unbearable. And there's people out there, especially on the internet, that love to push people into that corner. And I don't know why. I talk a lot about trying to build people up and bring them up so that they can operate and join society. And we have people out there doing everything they can to separate them from society. It's kind of like if you have a barnyard, let's say, and you have one of your animals is a little different than the rest of them, the rest of the barnyard will pick on that animal. Chickens, if you were to go out there and pour some yellow or green dye or something on a chicken on the back, all the chickens in the barnyard would pick that hen or rooster till it was dead, because it was different than the rest of them. And we as people, even though we may have that tendency to point and pick out and actually pick on somebody's different, we have the mental capacity to understand it and not do things like that, because that's what makes us human, is to not do that, make that decision. And yet, in the last 50 years, we've advanced in communications to the point where we don't have one-on-one communication hardly at all anymore. It's all keyboard stuff. And because of that, we're hiding behind a fiasco or a mask or whatever you want to call it. We create these false images of ourselves. And when you have somebody that's honest and comes on there, then all of a sudden, all these people come en masse and try to destroy that person. And that's what's happening to a certain extent. And, this thing in Otter Creek, people are being pulled out and scrutinized and say, look at the problem here. Instead of trying to solve problems, people are out there trying to take people and suppress them. And part of that is getting rid of freedom of speech, quite frankly. People out there are saying you can't do that, you can't do this. And there are certain lines that we're starting to cross that we shouldn't even be thinking about crossing, because it has to do with the freedoms of our Constitution guarantees, and freedom of speech is one of them. And without freedom of speech, we can't exist as a nation. I can tell you that right now. Along with that, we need to have the good sense to knowing when it turns into harassment. And I've seen it in the last few weeks, especially on one particular person that is bipolar, admittedly, and it's not something that I'm trying to be like a doctor on something like that. No, I'm telling you what the person himself has said. Look, they have it. She would like to be excused as far as some of the things that she may or may not do. And along with that, when she's going into the lower part, because it goes like this, up and down, they become extremely despondent. And when you get a lot of people beating on them, they think the whole world is. And in their mind, it is. That's their reality. And people are delighting in to figure out how to make this person feel bad. Now, does that make you feel good when you find somebody and you find this what you consider a flaw, that you can pick on it until it bleeds? Do you really think that's right in your brain? Does your heart feel that way? Or do you even have a heart? Do you have any empathy whatsoever? And it's like a bunch of vultures coming in to pick the meat from the bones. It's not right, and there's nothing you can say or tell me about it that makes it right. And a lot of people out there justifying things, they're saying, well, you know better. What? Maybe you don't understand something. When a person has a mental affliction of any kind, it takes a lot of work for him to join society and try to be a part of it without standing out. And if you can't help them, why hinder them? Don't do that. It's not good. It's not good for you, and it's certainly not good for them. I have very dim view of people that do that kind of stuff. Very dim. There's also people out there that may be, let's say, schizophrenic, or there's people where their IQ may be too low or too high. People with a high IQ have a hard time understanding other people because their habits may be a little different. And sometimes they may feel innocent. And innocent in the feeling that I'm telling you is not street smart or not keyboard smart. There's different things that they're very intelligent in education, but not in other things. Common sense stuff. And then we go after them. But why? We don't need to. I feel bad when somebody goes in there and does that. Let me get in here and put on pause. All right, well, I'm back on here. I took a second there. My wife wanted to talk to me a minute. Anyway, it would be great if people could change a little bit out there and have a little more understanding. We all have our uniqueness from each other, and if each of us were to call the other one out, we would hate each other probably. One of it might be that we figure they're too liberal or too conservative. I mean, those are the two big ones right now in the whole world, being conservative or liberal. And people will fight cat and dog to prove their point, when the truth is somewhere in between is within the society what it should be for us. Either one can be overwhelming. Boy, it's so hard to put it out there where I don't know how many people really can feel it or understand it. Some of these people that attack all the time feel that they were attacked, so it justifies them to attack others. And that could be the furthest thing from the truth. Those that have been under the scrutiny like that should understand it a lot better of the helplessness a person feels. Now, and then we don't just attack their mental stability, we attack their physical attributes. And this person, they go after her lips. They say that that they immediately feel that they've been filled with Botox or tox or whatever. I don't know what it is, or all kinds of stuff. And they get accused of a lot of things. And she says no, she hasn't done that. I would take her at her word. There's a lot of people that have lips that look exactly like that. And I don't understand why anybody would think it's wrong. Is that any different than putting a little rouge on your face or shadow on your behind on your eyes and stuff, or putting that stuff on your eyelashes, or covering up if you happen to have a flaw, covering it up with some I don't know what women call it, but it's a base of some kind, so they can level out the color of their skin. So if we're talking about doing something to your body, it could be nothing more than clipping your earlobe. A lot of people go in and they have their eyes lifted a little bit because it covers it. When you get, and for instance, like my eyelids drop quite a bit from what they used to. If I would go in and have those clipped, it would look very weird because all of a sudden my eyes would look like that for a while. They always overdo it. I don't know why, but they do. You come out there looking like you're booby-eyed, It's just people prefer something on their own self. And you should be patting them on the back for trying to improve rather than disapproving of their choices. To me, it's wrong to go out there and try to find flaws so that you can make them feel bad. And do you have to make people feel bad so that you can feel good? Or is it that you're just joining a group so you can be part of a group? In the instance where this person is being attacked, I think people do that as a group. It makes them feel wanted or needed when they're in a group of people. And they don't realize it actually brings out a trait called cowardice. You can't stand on your own 2 feet, so you join a group to go on the attack. You can't do it by yourself, but you join the group. That is wrong, so wrong. Oh, and the other thing is, I hate it when I see it. But a fight will get started in the chat. Now, I've told people before, you're better off, if you're mad at somebody and you have your own channel and you put it up, settle it on the channel, have those people come on there, invite them on a super chat of your own, go to it, do whatever you have to do. But when you go into it and it's somebody's channel, and then everybody has to take sides. And good friends walk away from each other because they have different definitions of what a friend is. I've got several friends that have got into it out there that, they will not speak to each other, and they're not going to sit down to negotiate it either. But, that's for them to figure it out. If you have a mindset like that, eventually you're not going to have friends, or else you're going to have to move on. You're not going to have friends that stay with you, because we all are going to have an argument with a friend from time to time. Sometimes you have to agree to disagree. One of my favorite people out there to do that with, believe it or not, is Bearded Fisherman. When we get together, we agree to disagree. Yeah. We have fun with it. We do. And it's more like a joke between the two of us, because we know that we both agree on almost everything. But we do have, because we're different of each other, we're going to have some different opinions. No big thing. We enjoy the rhetoric between us, okay? And he enjoys it with other people too. He don't just share that with myself. He's got a lot of friends out there, believe me. And they all like to get into there and have this rhetoric going. An outsider coming in looking at it would say, oh man, what a disagreeable SOB. Not so, not so. And the more people that are in your chat that are with you for the length of time, you get used to their personality traits. And when an outsider comes in, it takes a while for them to fit in. And once they fit in, then they understand the individuals, and they can converse back and forth and joke. And, dry humor jokes will get you butt hurt so quick you just can't stand it. But when you understand that that's their joke, then it's a whole different ball game. Now, in the past 6 months or so, and it's not been that long ago since I had berated somebody out there, and part of it is their humor is so dry. But the other thing is that they enjoyed knocking people down. And some people don't understand what they're doing in real terms. They think they're doing somebody a favor by doing somebody else a disfavor. This world don't work that way. Everybody deserves their voice in things, and everybody deserves to be heard. But nobody deserves to be beat on by the majority. Okay? So we have to look at it from that standpoint. Anyway, this particular person has said some pretty negative things over time, and then they come back, and it's pretty hard to save face. You do something wrong, to come back and openly admit it. But this person straightened out the problem. In other words, they come back and said, hey, this is one thing, I checked it out, and everything has come out the way that it was supposed to. Okay? Did they come out and give an actual apology or anything like that? Well, it depends on how you look at it. It's very hard to admit when you may have made a mistake, but you come back and you straighten the mistake out. And then it's up to you and whatever person that you may have been attacking to straighten that out. Not to all the rest of us, but to that person. So that goes back to just those two. But sometimes in our chats, we make demands that we shouldn't. And we get after the creators and tell them, hey, you didn't notice what I'm going to say, I'm going to leave. Well, the people that are running the channel, they don't see every remark, and they can't, because they're busy giving you substance to talk about in the first place, information. If you're patient, you'll get to it. Sometimes you can email it in and say, I didn't get this across during the chat, but I really would like to know. And then you ask the question. And sometimes they'll cover it in their next chat for you. A lot of people go back and they'll look at what's in there, and the next time they'll try to cover it. When I put up a vlog or whatever, I go and I look at all the comments, and sometimes the next one I put up, I'll go over the comment here and there so that they get an answer. Or if they have a way of me contacting them, I'll do it that way. Everybody has a little different way of doing it. A live show endangers the creator to the fact that they're responsible for it, and what you say or do in the chat will make a difference on some of these people that are monetized, because they can lose their monetization by not controlling the chat. And you just can't, I'm just telling you, you can't. You rely on the mods doing it for you. And sometimes people get mad because they figure, well, it's that guy's channel, and this mod told me I can't speak. And they get upset with it. Well, the mod is doing everything they can to do the best job they can. And if they did something wrong, they'll probably talk it out with the creator of the channel. The creator sets the boundaries and then hopes that the mods understands it to the point is able to carry it out. And it's made so that everybody can get their piece in. And there are a lot of negative things out there that people get upset with when they're talked about. And we all have to understand where that point comes from. And if we step over the line, we'll probably get slapped in some way. And I'm not talking about physically, okay? I'm just talking about verbally slapped or put in the corner for a little bit. You just have to kind of understand how it runs. It's not a big deal. I've got friends out there that I know they're not going to talk to each other, and there's nothing I can do about it, and I've pretty much been told it's none of my business. And it really isn't at that point. It doesn't mean that I don't like either one or the group that they were within. If I can work with them, I'm willing to. If I can't, well, that's just one of those things. We don't always, we can't always enjoy the things around us with a negative attitude, because it destroys us. And we have to figure out, is there common ground? And common ground should be the winner. Not you or I, but common ground between us. I can't stress that enough, and especially in something like this. Now, there's a group that's involved in trying to keep John and Michelle and their little daughter so that they can operate in society without worrying and looking over their shoulder, and trying to protect them to a certain extent. And although we can't protect them from themselves, we do the best we can out there for providing some doors and open them up for them, or helping them out on their home or something to that effect, so that they have a better life. That's the intent. It has nothing to do with trying to make others feel so much ashamed that they're afraid to walk the street or something because they had an opinion that they shouldn't have. What we try to do is keep people from pecking each other apart. That's the thing. We're not a bunch of chickens out there in the barnyard picking on a chicken that has some dye on its back. That's not our business. We shouldn't be doing that. Now, if any of you think it's right by going in there and making their life so miserable, think about if you had to walk in their shoes for a while. And I know you believe everything that you hear about them, and rather than look and see and use your own eyes and your own ears, you might have a different opinion of it. I know people come here and they say, well, I don't like Jeremy, but I don't like those two either. And I don't think it's a good environment for the daughter. Well, that's an opinion you've got, but you may not know the whole story. And, the other night, Lisa was trying to explain that if more people knew what they had went through, these people, they might have a different opinion. But these people, the majority of them don't want to hear it. And, the protection that has had to be around that little child 24/7, some of it was health. But the other was physical attacks. They've been threatened with somebody come and take their daughter. They've been threatened to take them to court. And, those threats are real. I mean, money was raised. A lawyer sent letters. They're searching and fishing right now for everything that they can find out about this couple. And I don't know how many people could understand the scrutiny that they're going through or even put up with it. But, their child has been photographed from head to toe without clothes to disprove being turned in for beating on this little child, and showing that there is no bruises, no beatings, no marks on her. They've also took urine drug tests. And, this is through Child Protective Services. And can you imagine a little child going through this at 3 or 4 years old? Because that's when this stuff was happening. And they've always come out clean. You know, it's not... these people that turned them in did it on somebody else's word. And some of them mistake an utterance of being reality. And that's not true either. If you haven't been there and you haven't went through it, calling a child protective service is a disservice, not a service. These people have a lot of cases to keep up with, and we send them out there. I say we loosely. I really have never turned anybody in to a child protective services. It's not saying that I wouldn't if I thought something was wrong. But I just haven't been around somebody that had done the things that this couple has been accused of. This little child has more things at her hands than what I grew up with. Quite frankly, the house I grew up in when I was a child, we didn't have a refrigerator. When I first moved in there, it was my grandmother's house. There was 3 rooms. There was a potbelly stove that heated the house. No insulation in there. No running water. Okay, the water was provided by a pump that fed 3 homes. There was 3 homes that drew water out of that pump. We had a pail of water sitting on a dry sink with a dipper, and we drank from the dipper, and we all survived it. And we had an outhouse out back. Matter of fact, during my lifetime, while I was there, before we had indoor plumbing, and I use that fact lightly, and I'll explain you why. My dad had dug, the original one was sitting there that my grandfather had dug. And not too long after we moved in, he dug another one. And it was a pretty nice one. And then he dug another one. And the last one was probably better yet. And holes were different sizes, by the way. It wasn't a 1-holer. It was a 2-holer. You had a big one and a little one. And yeah, we used to joke about it. And we had papers and magazines sitting in there. And they weren't necessarily there to read, but to utilize. I want you to understand when you're young and you have no money, you utilize things. And there usually isn't any need for a garbage man because you actually have no garbage. We used anything that was left over that would go in a garden plot to enhance the soil, along with whatever we cleaned, whether it be a pheasant, rabbit, or whatever, fish. Okay? A very small yard and a very small house, but a lot of love there. The ice box used to have, a guy would come and deliver ice and put it in our ice box to keep milk and things like that cool. Okay, there was no freezer in there. And if you wanted something real quick, you might chip a little bit of ice off to make your drink that colder. Most of the time, we could just go pump a little bit out of the pump, and the water was about 55 degrees, I think, is what the well water would come out at. But that's very cold on a day that's 80 or 90 outside, and it felt very good. So the inside plumbing, when we finally got it, we had no hot water till even the day I went into service. I was 17 years old. We had no hot water in that house. There was no shower in that house. We cleaned up either in a tub, a wash tub, that when I was younger, it doubled as the tub that the clothes were washed in. But we washed in it too. Took our bath in it. Other than that, it was a wash pan, and you sponged off head to toe. Those are the things that you did when you don't have money, and that's all you have to live with. But when you're raised with it, it doesn't bother you in the least. It doesn't mean that you're going to be dirty, because that's not true. You still have to clean up like everybody else. It takes longer. That's what it does. So, and privacy is out the window as well. Well, I don't need to touch on that anymore, but like, I know Michelle and John have been accused of not having a sewer system in there, and yet it's a new one. It's certified by the state and the county. Meets all the requirements for the state of Florida. They have water that was recently, it's cleared for drinking. Now, it may not be the type of water you'd like to drink, but it is not hazardous according to the state and federal requirements. It just is not the water you would like to drink. That's what I'm saying. But it's there, okay? It's running water. They have a working toilet that you flush, okay? And it won't take long before their home will be finished enough so they'll be able to move into it. It's going to take some time. It doesn't happen overnight. These people don't have a lot of money. And right now, they're involved with, I think, 3 or 4 court cases, and they're having to spend their time running back and forth with that while trying to take care of a young child, and these people are in their 60s. We have got some major problems with society here. They're providing, if you will, a group of people their entertainment. That's right. These people are keyboard warriors, and they have nothing better to do than to scrutinize these people 24/7 and beat up on them at every chance, and every lie, conceivable lie you can think of has been told about them. They can't win hardly. And without help, they won't win. They cannot stand by themselves. And these people are fighters. They fight back. As a matter of fact, because of reactions, that's what probably got them in trouble in the first place, because they reacted to an action. And yet they're accused of starting it. They did not. As far as my opinion, they did not start this thing. I don't know how else I can put it, but these same people are now after a retired lawyer. They're saying retired because she didn't want to be disbarred. That's all bullshit. She proved it. She put the paper out there, and people still won't believe it. You know, there's so many lies going out over there. How do you tell the truth anymore? It's almost as if, well, no truth to being told today because everything else was lies, right? Well, there's one side tells the truth as much as they can. And not only do they tell the truth, but they bring the paperwork and show it to you on the YouTube. Now, all of you know that I back 2 Lees in a pod. And the reason I do is because they don't just talk about it, they prove it. Now, a lot of people don't like the way they conduct it because it's too long. It talks about everything, and and sometimes you have to wait an hour or two to get at what you wanted to listen to in the first place. Okay. Well, number one, this thing started quite a while ago. The people that run this thing are like a family with each other. They're used to talking with each other. And I hear all this BS about, okay, well, they talk over each other. I don't understand it. If you're around it long enough, you become part of it. And they don't necessarily talk over people to cut them off. They're comfortable in getting their point across at a different point so that they don't lose it. That's all they're doing. They love each other. Literally, they think a lot of each other. And they would not do something to disparage the other. It's like a family. When you get down to supper and you decide to get a conversation going and you're all talking, and some of you are talking over each other, and you seem to get the word across because you're used to doing it that way. What I'm telling you is this channel acts, the people on there are like a family. They're like brothers and sisters. And you either like it or you don't. The nice thing about this whole thing is, if you get on there and you don't care for it, there's a button up there. You shut it off and you go to another channel. That's as simple as I can put it. I don't tell them how to run their channel. And they have never, ever come on here and told me how to run mine. And I'm glad for them, and I commend them for that. They understand everybody has their own way of doing things. They all have big hearts. This is one of the smallest channels out there with the biggest hearts. They will literally give you the shirt off their back. They proved how they felt about John and Michelle and that little girl. They physically went out there and worked on the property. Tori come down from another state to put her hands on this project. I call her Tori the Tiger for a reason. She'll tear you a new butt if you get into her with it. But that's just Tori. Get used to it. If you don't like it, you don't have to talk to her or listen to her. But if you call her names, what good is that? You know, it's the same way with Lisa or Kendra or, Robbie. Robbie is one of the nicest guys in the world. But by golly, he's going to tell you what he thinks at the moment that he's thinking of it. Now, he might come back later and say, hey, you know what, I might have been a little harsh. He might. I don't know if he will about every time. But, he's used to reacting very quickly, and he has to with the job he does. He wrestles alligators. He saves them for society. Yes. He's a sanctuary for animals. And, he has to get people to donate to him. He's got to be nice enough to get a little bit to save these animals. So what I'm saying about being a nice guy, he really is. He's got a big heart. So don't pick on him. And when he's talking over somebody, he's used to that because in the business he's in, he has no choice. It's dangerous not to be able to have that, and it's hard to shut it off when you go home at night. If you don't believe me, his kids will probably tell you that too. But they love him, and they all work with him. He must be doing something right, okay? And the man is very intelligent. So let them have their show and show them the respect that they deserve and be a little more understanding about the way people operate. Now, as far as me, hey, look, I've had 80 years to get this way, and you probably won't change me one iota. It's not that I won't listen to you. I just may not agree with you. And I may not always tell you I disagree. I may just let you have your way to make you feel good. The one thing I hate to do is sit in the corner and not let you know when you're doing the wrong thing to people. I don't believe in doing the kind of stuff you're doing to this group. And being a bully will not get you anywhere in life. You may think it does, but it does not. Anyway, I think I've talked enough today. I think I've berated enough people. And I've tried to get you to understand other people. Now, there's other channels out there that have tried very hard to get your vote of confidence. And they are working hard. There are different generations of people out there. I'm of the older generation. There's very few people out there my age doing this kind of stuff. For one thing, nobody under probably 50 or 60 wants to hear somebody my age talk about old times. And that's why I don't do a lot of talking about old times. I'll throw a story in there once in a while. And I'll tell you what, a bunch of people will get on there and say, we don't want to hear that crap. They'll just say it right out. But all I got to say for them is, I never told you to listen. I'll get a kick out of it. When I was young, we didn't have the opportunity for TV. And you didn't always have the right to turn the radio knob to the place you wanted it either. But one thing we could do is we could sit down with the people, the elderly people in our block, and listen to stories. And they would keep you entertained for hours because they had lots of them in their memory storage, along with cookies and maybe milk or iced tea or a big cold glass of water. The elderly people back then that I remember were nice. They were good people. And if they had a tree out there with an apple or peach on it or prunes or whatever, you were always welcome to it. They expected you to ask, but if you did ask, I doubt if you got turned down. Okay? So with that, I'm going to let you go. I want you all to have a good day. And what's John saying? Do all of you know what John says? Ta-ta.